Hi, I'm Anna Oliveri, and I'm from Millerstown, Pennsylvania. I got my undergraduate degree from Juniata College in Huntington, Pennsylvania. At Juniata, I played rugby, and I worked for an outreach program called Science in Motion for all 4 years that I was there. I am now here at the University of Oregon, working in Darren Johnson's lab, part of the Center for Sustainable Materials Chemistry, working on gallium nanoclusters.
Hi, I'm Matt Carnes. I'm a postdoc in the Center for Sustainable Materials. I did my undergraduate work at the University of California, San Diego. I did my graduate work at Columbia University working with Colin Knuckles on organic materials and organic polymers. I then did a postdoc in the Netherlands with Bert Meyer and studied self-assembling systems and supramolecular chemistry. I got into science because my grandfather was a chemical engineer. He helped design some refinery stuff and was always telling me about different chemical reactions and accidents that happened at the plant and other sort of interesting things that happened along the way to figuring out how to make better gasoline.
Here at the University of Oregon for the Center of Sustainable Materials Chemistry, I work with nanoclusters. When you think of a nanocluster, it's a very small grouping of metal atoms that are connected together. When we have these small clusters, it's really hard to analyze them because they're not visible to the naked eye. So we use different types of analytical techniques to try to study them and determine what the structure actually is. So working with instruments here at the University of Oregon and collaborators that we have within the center, we're starting to understand what the structure of these clusters is and hoping in the future to be able to understand how they interact in solution when we dissolve them in water, because we use these clusters to make thin films, which then go into electronic devices that end up working really well, and we've improved upon previous standards that have been set for these types of devices. I personally don't always have a lot of experience with some of the instruments I use, which makes the postdoc in our lab, Matt Carnes, a great asset to be able to go and ask him for help to understand the data that I get.
Within the Center for Sustainable Materials, my job is to organize and lead a group of undergraduates and graduate students and myself and other postdocs in trying to assemble a toolkit to study the solution behavior of inorganic metal oxides. We're also trying to develop better materials precursors for electronics applications. And in order to do that, we have to understand lots of things about the solutions that we're looking at. So we use a lot of different techniques. So we use Raman, NMR, UV-Vis, X-ray, both single crystal X-ray and small angle X-ray scattering to get an idea about how the little cluster molecules are behaving in solution, so that we know how to tweak them and what levers to pull and different atoms to swap out to get the optimal electronic properties that we're looking for.
As I was talking about earlier, these are actual examples of our clusters that we've made. So you can see that it looks like a white powder, but this is actually the crystalline form of our gallium cluster in this scintillation vial. So this example has 13 gallium atoms in it, and we know that from the single crystal data like this. Now, what we wanted to prove was when we dissolve this back into water, if that species still exists or if it's something else. So using NMR, SAX, Raman, DLS, and all these different techniques together, we've actually been able to prove that this is the same species in water as it is in this solid state when we spin these films to make the devices.
And by knowing what's exactly in the solution that we're making the electronic films from, we can improve the films by tweaking little parts by changing atoms on the outside, by changing the solvent that we're using and the pH of which it's from. So we can improve the kind of electronics that we can make from it.